Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're gonna look at why Godzilla and Kong, or Godzilla versus Kong, is still killing it almost 2 years later on multiple streaming platforms around the world. So, Godzilla vs. Kong, as we all know, was the number 7th ranked movie overall in 2021. It was also the number 1 ranked pirated movie in 2021 and one of HBO Max's top viewing movies on their platform for the year as well. And up until it was removed recently, it still was pretty highly ranked. But what's interesting is that almost 2 years later, this movie is still in the top rankings on multiple streaming platforms, specifically around the world. Now, I found an interesting article on a website called Giant Freaking Robot. This was actually published last week. I'll share it here real quick. And this got me to do a little bit more homework right after I saw this article. So, who doesn't love big monsters duking it out and laying waste to an entire metropolitan city? Well, a ton of people certainly do, as Godzilla vs. Kong is currently battling its way up the streaming charts and has landed at number 5 on Amazon Prime Video. The monster movie stars Millie Bobby Brown in one of the most epic battles the world has ever seen. Now, this specifically, I believe, means not free streaming. Like, for example, if you look at Amazon's top 10 charts, you'll see shows like Reacher and Jack Ryan and stuff like that. Those are for movies that are like Prime related. I don't think Godzilla vs. Kong is on Prime right now. I have the movie there, but it's purchased. So I had bought it there when it went off of HBO for a while, but then it popped back up on. It was available on Amazon before it came back to HBO. But anyway, and now it's off HBO again. So that was just my way of adding it to my library, since I have most of my digital movies on Amazon Prime. So I wanted to make sure I always had it. But anyway, but in terms of movies you purchase and watch, like, that is Prime Video. There's Prime and then there's Prime Video. So Prime is stuff they show for free. Prime Video usually means when you purchase a movie or rent a movie to watch. So that number 5 ranking was as early as last week, which I thought was extraordinarily, like, surprising. You know what I mean? And it's not because you think about some of the more recent movies that have come out over the last 2 years, and for a movie like Godzilla vs. Kong to still be a top ranking movie that people are watching is pretty incredible. However, it goes even further than that. And this is specifically worldwide. This is not really dedicated to like the United States, because when I look at these rankings, the United States is actually not in any of these rankings, but most other countries are. And these are top 10 movie rankings on different platforms that are used worldwide. For example, Netflix. So we have never seen Godzilla vs. Kong on Netflix here, but other countries have access to Godzilla vs. Kong for Netflix in that country. So for example, here is Godzilla vs. Kong on Netflix top 10 movies. So this is going as far back as November of 2022 and as recent as January 4th. So like just under a 3-month span. And for those 3 months, Godzilla was in the lowest ranking they had on the platform was 81. For some reason though, and this is showing in every let me share the screen here so you guys can see what I'm looking at. This is showing like in every other country as well. For some reason in December, it flew off the radar. So like in the week of 12/19/2022, it was ranked number 11. All right. And again, this is an overall average because it doesn't, this graph here doesn't break it down country by country. It gives you the overall average from all these countries here. But this is time spent in the top 10. So like for Australia, for example, so I don't know why they put it here and put it here, but like over here for Australia, like it says 9 days here, it says 10 days here. So it seems to be a little off. but I'm not sure if this is overall. See, this is overall top 10, so that tells me it's movies and television shows and documentaries, like everything Netflix has to show. But then for this ranking here, this is specifically movies. So this does not include, TV shows, documentaries, things like that. So overall, and these are all the countries where it ranked in the top 10. So Australia, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Canada, Cyprus, Egypt, India, Italy, Japan, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Maldives, New Zealand, Oman, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and United Arab Emirates. And each country shows you how long it was there and what it averaged, which is, so over here, I think this here is the average, how many days it spent and what the average ranking was in the top 10. So, again, you're looking, and these are as recent as January, these rankings, HBO, and this is a little bit older data because it's not on HBO anymore, but if you can see the days here, this is going as far back as I believe, you see, I think November was the last one. Over here, November 18th. And then down here, it says 12/25. So I'm not sure if that is correct, because I feel like Godzilla vs. Kong was not on HBO Max in December. But again, and the other thing that's weird here is I was unaware. See, I don't know about this particular ranking here, because as far as I know, HBO Max is not available in other countries, but that might have changed. The other thing this could also consider is VPN. A lot of people do use VPN to watch HBO Max. So, but again, the other thing to consider is that all these rankings are not 100% accurate. So there's always room for error, because a lot of some of the streaming services don't always give this information, especially depending on how old a movie is or how recent a movie is. If they're trying to promote it and they don't want to make it seem like people are not watching it, you guys know how it works. But considering that this movie is 2 years old now, I'm pretty sure this information is more accurate than what it would have been when it first came out. Other countries, interesting enough, some of the most popular countries that absolutely love Godzilla vs. Kong, and so United Kingdom is one. They love Godzilla vs. Kong. Armenia, Belarus, Cambodia, Malaysia loves them some Godzilla vs. Kong. Egypt, Malaysia is insane. They love Godzilla vs. Kong. Saudi Arabia is pretty ranked high. Thailand, Vietnam. I mean, there's some countries that just you can just look at the bar. Let me switch it back over. I mean, look at Malaysia. This is like a popularity rank. Look at Malaysia, 230 days over there. It's been like in like the top 50 or top 100, and I think 8.5 days or 8.5 days in the top 10. Anyway, over here, Thailand is like max rank. Vietnam. I mean, these countries love Godzilla vs. Kong, and it's so crazy that, when you think about movies that have been out for a while that may not necessarily be in the top 10 or top 50 or top 100 anymore, and Godzilla vs. Kong still seems to be hovering around those rankings, even as recent as like the last 4 months. Again, it's not to say that all this information is 100% accurate, but it gives you an idea that even if it's off by a couple of rankings or it's off by a couple of days, and then you look at the article I just read on how it ranked on Amazon Prime, this movie is still incredibly relevant almost 2 years later. Now, a lot of that could be due to the fact that, maybe it picked up popularity again when they announced the sequel, and the sequel being worked on became better well known amongst people beyond the community and the Rabbit fan base. But, it's still not like it's being marketed. It's not like everybody knows about the sequel. So I thought it was interesting. I wanted to share that because, the monsterverse has been very unique outside of theaters. If you remember Godzilla King of the Monsters, which did not do well in the box office, we all know that. It was, it was a very underwhelming performance in the box office. but yet it was like the number 5 purchased Blu-ray that year, beating out like multiple Marvel movies. You know what I mean? Once again, Godzilla vs. Kong was the number 1 pirated movie of 2021. It was the number 7th ranked movie overall in terms of how it performed. So, I mean, and now here we are almost 2 years later, and Godzilla vs. Kong is still being heavily streamed. It's in the top 10 in a bunch of countries, and it's even top 10 either rented or purchased on Amazon Prime as of last week. So, I mean, you know, we've had all these discussions about, you know, especially on stream, about the momentum of the monsterverse seeming like more like it's picking up now than declining. You know, we always talk about the decline because we understand how kaiju movies were never super popular and always kind of cheesy and you know, to the general audience, not to us. And the shelf life for such a thing can only be for so long. But now we've learned in the last year that not only is that maybe not the case, but this is a genre that's actually gaining popularity. And, you know, going back to my video about whether or not the monsterverse is woke, you consider all the woke stuff that we are getting in Hollywood that people just don't want to see. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you stand on. People generally go to the movies to be entertained. They don't want to be dealing with political or cultural issues in the theater. And yes, this is not only a conservative thing, this is a left-sided thing too. You know, there are people who don't want to see that stuff. And what happens is once you start dodging the stuff that you know is going to have those kinds of messages and that kind of content, you start filtering towards the stuff that doesn't have it. And the Monsterverse is one of those series right now that has not been contaminated with ideological and political messages in the movie. And considering it being owned by a Chinese company, considering that the source material is based out of Japan, the chances of seeing that stuff is probably very slim. You know, you might get some winks and nods towards that kind of stuff, but for the most part, you're not going to get it front and center. At least at this point, we haven't. So I thought it was very interesting. I wanted to share this information because I think it's very cool that, you know, we almost get some sort of clarification that some of the things you've been speculating and talking about, especially on the streams, in terms of this momentum in this genre picking up steam and gaining what seems to be a solidified fan base, is actually happening worldwide, on a worldwide level. And this speaks volumes as to what this could mean for the series. You know, I'm going to be very interested to see how the show performs on Apple Plus, as well as it'll be nice to see just how well the movie does at the box office when it comes out, because I can only imagine what Godzilla vs. Kong would have done in the box office had there not been a pandemic. But being that both of them are coming back to the screen and so many people loved the first movie, first of them together, Godzilla vs. Kong, I have a feeling we might see some better numbers than the modest predictions we commonly make, which is always between $500 and $600 million, with the off chance that it could break 700. You know, depending on how the movie looks when it's marketed, and depending on what we find out, you know, there's a good chance this movie, I would say, has the opportunity not to make $1 billion, not going to go crazy. I think the opportunity to make close to 800 million is possible, depending on the story, how they present it, you know, and not necessarily story, but depending on how much they take from Godzilla vs. Kong and build upon it. You know, considering that Adam Wingard is bringing back pretty much the same team, a lot of the same people are involved behind the scenes. It looks like he's going to use the same formula in this movie that he did for the last one, and that could spell some success. So anyway, I thought it was interesting that this movie worldwide is still in the top 10 in viewership. I just thought it was really cool, and I wanted to share that, and definitely hear what you guys have to say about that, and any comments you leave on the bottom. I'm interested to see what you guys think. But anyway, that's it for this video. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Click here to watch more content. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, make sure you like and share this video. If you want to know when the next video is up, click the notification bell next to the subscribe button. And most of all, make sure to click that subscribe button for regular content.